Hello, gelato, everyone. It is George, the Disney Italiano, coming to you with another live. I got a full house today, folks. It's going to be a great live. We're going to discuss a bunch of things going on in the Disney community and the theme parks. But before we do, let me introduce to you my friends, colleagues, panel, all that good jazz. I'm going to start off with two very good friends of ours from Leaving Today's podcast, Mark and Udi. How you guys doing today?
We're doing super fantastic.
I
Thank you
am.
for
Yep.
yep. Thank you for having us on. It's an honor and a privilege to be
Yeah.
talking to you on your show.
Yep. Absolutely. What Mark?
Absolutely.
What
And
Mark?
if you guys want to let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Udi, go ahead and tell us.
Okay, so you can find me. I'll go with me real quick because mine's a shorter one. It's on my Instagram, which is the HAXGOALIE Haxgoli. I do have another podcast away from my good friend Mark called The Mando Show. It's a Star Wars specific show. You can find that on all podcasts, and you can find me right here with Mark doing our LTP Lounge every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Indie time, right here on YouTube under the Leaving Today podcast. And you can also find me bi-weekly on the Leaving Today podcast. And again, you can find that wherever your podcast can be found.
Yeah, well said. And again, yeah, you can find me every Wednesday night at LTP Lounge from 6 to 7 Indie time, where we talk about the latest Disneyland park news, and we have guests on and friends like George and Conductor here. We're always on. And then our audio podcast is Leaving Today Podcast. It comes out every other Monday. And episode 250 we'll record this Sunday. So we've been doing that for 10 years. And Instagram is Leaving Today Podcast.
Awesome. And I was just going to mention, you guys are hitting a major milestone with 250 episodes. That is a huge achievement. So
Well,
definitely congrats to you guys. And again, so glad to be part of your community, as you guys are definitely a part of Hollow Gelato. So definitely thank you for joining. And of course, right over here, this guy who I haven't seen since like 12 hours, Mr. Our Conductor. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm still recovering from last night because that was, oh my gosh, that was an epic experience by far.
And what Conductor is talking about, folks, if you definitely check out both of our channels on Hollow Gelato and Theme Park Conductor, we both did vlogs that we got to go to the grand opening of Gordon Ramsay's at the Carnaby at Don Disney.
Yeah.
What a phenomenal experience. Just the atmosphere of the restaurant itself, the staff, of course, the food. I mean, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but definitely go watch our vlogs because we definitely dive into all of that stuff. And especially with my specialty cocktail drink.
Oh yeah.
That was very, very interesting. That stuff didn't make it onto the vlog, unfortunately, but if you guys were there, we had a great time. It was it was really fun.
So I didn't see your vlog, George, but I watched Conductor's because I just had like half an hour break at lunch, and I was like, let me just like throw this on there. And dude, I was happy for you guys, but a little envious, I must say. But I was everything looked like wonderful, and I didn't understand that they served like the prime rib like that, where they just cut it right there. That was I've never seen that.
Yeah, they bring it all out to you. They do a whole production. Really, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Conductor, but I think like every dish, they had a little bit of a story to tell with it.
Well, it kind of reminded me of Walt Disney World when I was out there. Like everything they brought out food-wise for your whole experience had some type of entertainment aspect to it. But I do know, hearing from other people that have dined at Gordon Ramsay's other restaurants around the world, that's the high class you get. So I did enjoy the experience. Our waiter and just all the staff, including the manager or one of the managers, phenomenal. Like, I mean, A-class service all across the board. Like, I was super stoked to go in there, and after leaving, I already wanted to go back.
Oh, okay.
Not disappointed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And actually, believe it or not, even though the best dish, equals bread and water, the bread actually was really good.
Oh, that looks so good. I was like, holy crap, that looks awesome.
And you didn't even need butter.
No, you didn't.
No,
Oh,
you
man.
didn't eat it. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. But I want to give a big shout out to Berry Place 28 for joining us tonight.
Mhm.
And I didn't say it already, Mark and Nudie, I am super excited to watch your 250th episode. I cannot agree more with George. It is a huge, huge celebration, not just 10 years, but 250 episodes. I could not be more happy for both of you, and I cannot wait to listen to that podcast.
Oh man, you're killing me.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's it's 10 years, man. 10 years is a long time.
Yeah, we're gonna go more into it. Obviously, I will take the opportunity again to thank my good friend Mark for coming up with a crazy idea. And then I'll just keep it there. Just want to thank Mark because of Mark and his crazy idea 10 years ago to walk up to me and say, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast about Disneyland?" And I kind of went like, "Yeah," And here we are 10 years later. A lot has happened and changed in all our lives. We've gotten to meet you two guys on top of it. So there's a lot of great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. Yeah, thank you. I don't want to go too deep into it right now, but if we hadn't done the show, we wouldn't be talking to you guys, and I would be watching content anyways, and I'd be like, man, I want to talk to these guys. I wish I was doing something that could allow me to do that. And I'm so blessed that we can do this and talk to everyone, and because everyone in this community is just top notch. It's just, and I feel so privileged, and we'll go more into that on Sunday. But it's been a long 10 years. In fact, Udi didn't even have a beard when we started this.
I did not. That's true. I did not. It was really short. Really short.
That's crazy. And welcome in Foxglove Ferry. Yes, I actually was with Berry Place 28 and Theme Park Casual and Cordy at Knott's Berry Farm a few days ago for their Park Streamers hangout in the park. That was really cool. Just got to have that chill vibe, hang out with everybody. Got to enjoy the summer nights at Knott's Berry Farm. I mean, what do you ask for?
Wow. That's nice.
So I thought there's a few topics I want to kind of go over with you guys, because I mean a lot is happening right now within the company and the theme parks. Even just today, they announced the quarterly earnings call. I believe it's August 4th, I think.
For D23, and that.
They're definitely. Yeah, they're definitely going to close that up before D23. Yeah, it's at the beginning of August.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring up to you guys first this topic. So this is courtesy of a very good friend of ours, Theme Park IQ, and this is saying that Disneyland files permit to remodel North Downtown Disney security entrance. Permits call for a new security fence and a new 3,000 square foot security canopy area. So, I mean, other than that, there's really nothing more that was said. But I thought, you know what, this would actually be a great topic to discuss, because we're starting to see kind of hints going around with Disneyland Forward and the Eastern Gateway and what have you, and things kind of being maneuvered around. And I'm very curious to see what you guys think about it. So, Udi, do you want to kick us off?
I mean, I guess I can. I mean, sure. Honestly, I think you're right. I think one of the things that is going to be super interesting as we go forward with any of these plans is going to be kind of figuring out what the chess pieces are, not being on the inside, not being part of those conversations. It's going to be interesting to see how the tables begin to move around. And definitely, this is one of the things that does start pointing in the direction of that kind of stuff. The Eastern Gateway project is something we know is moving forward, but now this is fun for me. For my line of work, I enjoy this kind of stuff because it lets me try to kind of in my mind envision what I would be doing and how I would be moving the stuff around. So I think it's a good step. I think any little tidbit that we begin to get, we're going to start. This is what we do, right, guys? We get these bits of information, begin to kind of try to flush them out in what we think will be the right ways and how it's going to, kind of pan out. So, yeah, I agree with you fully. I think this is just the little baby steps into the bigger pieces beginning to get moved around.
Okay. Mark, what do you say on it?
Well, I mean, this is the ESPN Zone side of things, right? Or sorry, the Lululemon side of things, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The north side. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be more of a temporary thing or like a permanent thing, like what they have next to Din Tai Fung. I'm hoping it's more of a permanent thing, but I still think this north side is going to be impacted by Disneyland Forward.
Mm-hmm.
If we ever get this, on both sides of the Disneyland Hotel flushed out, this section right here is a very key component of that. But I'm looking at it right now. It's a canopy area and new fencing, so that suggests that it's probably going to be more of a permanent structure. And I think these are very temporary. The ones, at least the ones in the picture. Am I wrong on that, or?
No, I agree. I agree with you on that. But honestly, I see it both ways, where it can be a temporary thing, like a temporary, long-term temporary. You know what I mean? A lot of things can be done. I'll point at what's going on in Coco, right? That road, temporary, long-term, temporary, right?
Yeah.
So this could be one of those other pieces of it, right? It'll be there. They know it's going to be there for a while, so they're going to make it a semi-permanent structure. It'll be interesting to see, again, once they actually begin to put this stuff up, that's when in my opinion, that's when I'll start giving a hard look and try to really evaluate whether it's going to be a long-term temporary structure versus more, permanent that's going to be here for a decade or so.
Okay. And conductor, we were actually just walking around this area, because when we went to the Gordon Ramsay restaurant, it's in that location, and we were parked in the Pixar Pals parking structure. So we figured, we would just walk there. So, because rather than walk all the way back, take the tram, come all the way, whole shenanigans. That while we were walking, we were having the discussion to the fact of that as we're crossing over the bridge, or as I like to call the walking path. Yes, I'm from the East Coast, folks, so yeah, that's what it is. That it kind of cuts through into the Lilo and Stitch parking lot. And you were saying, I'm wondering, how long, all of this would even, be existing, because eventually it's going to go at some point. Because once they start going into the Lilo and Stitch parking lot, probably for the Disneyland expansion. So once they start cutting into that, even with the security that they're going to remodel, I'm wondering if that's even going to be temporary.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with this picture we're looking at right now, because one of the things I mentioned to you while we were dining at the Gordon Ramsay restaurant was we were kind of like center in the first room, and we could clearly see the entranceway they just got done building and actually remodeling from the old style right next to the Gordon Ramsay restaurant. You have Din Tai Fung next to it, but it was kind of that old school, new school, modern look of a security entrance, and I think we're going to get the same style here. Now, when it comes to the bridge that we walk to get to the parking structure, I think that will go away eventually. I think whatever they decide to put in the Lilo and Stitch parking lot, that is obviously going to be Disneyland expansion. My curiosity, though, is are they going to build a new bridge that might go behind that land to reach the parking structures? Because where the bridge sits right now, it's clearly in the way. So there's no possible chance of it staying there because it's just in the way. But they could remove it and then re-add it on the other side, on the backside of the Lilo and Stitch parking lot. Or
I'm very curious, like, of how they're going to
Mm.
do all this, especially with the day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
Because with everything of how it's already interconnected, that it's
yes,
going to be an extreme change of like removing something and replacing it, having it go in an opposite direction and what have you. I'm very curious to know like how they're going to maneuver
well,
people
well,
in and out on both ends.
okay, well, think about it for a second. That road that is literally right between Pixar Pal parking structure and the Lilo and Stitch parking structure, which is a public access road for now. Part of Disneyland Forward was that they granted Disney the opportunity to close that road at some point for Disneyland Forward. So when they're ready to build in the Lilo and Stitch parking lot for a Disneyland expansion, they could just close that road off and not have to worry about day-to-day operations, meaning public access.
Yep. No, you're pretty spot on with that conductor. I mean, here's the one thing with anytime you're going to see a bridge, it's pretty clear to tell. You can tell with how they begin the assembly of a bridge that a bridge is going in.
Yeah.
You know? So keeping an eye in that area, they begin to close those roads off. That's going to be the things are like, oh, okay, here we go. They're going to probably do that.
Yeah, but now I'm just trying to figure out because we still have not yet even seen any vertical of the massive parking structure that's going across from Disneyland that's going to connect the bridge. I mean, they said that this is going to be a 40-year plan just with the Disneyland Forward. It really seems like the 40 years is going to take just to build the bridge. But so I'm assuming they would have to do that first, correct? Before that they could even touch everything on that north side.
I would think so. I would think so, and just for the flow of people, just because you can't. I mean, here, the other aspect a lot of people don't think about when you have so many people rolling in and out, right? Fire marshal is going to have a say in that, how people egress and ingress in the areas. So all that's going to be part of all this is like, what can we shut down? How can we maneuver people? How can we bring people in? How can we bring people out? What if an emergency comes in? All these are parts of all this big, massive puzzle that they're working on. So yeah, they have to definitely make it so that nowhere where if there's any kind of emergency, fire, anything, natural disaster, they're going to be able to move people in and out as easily as possible. So definitely they have to do one piece to open up another piece, so then they can just open up another piece. It's going to have to be, in my opinion, something along those lines.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, Mark, or I mean, Udi, I think what's going to be the clear indicator when they start, prepping the area for that parking structure to go vertical, I honestly believe the first sign we're going to see is that cast member building that splits the two parking lots. That's going to be taken up by that parking structure. Once we start seeing actual physical demo, then we know they're moving forward. Because right now it's just pure speculation. I think the latest update from David from Fresh Baked was no one's parking in that area anymore. Yeah. So that's a step forward. And then you see cast members either going to the Pumbaa lot or going to a section of the Toy Story lot for strictly cast members. I think that's just a step in the right direction. See, that's the thing with the Disneyland Resort compared to Walt Disney World. We have to go through all these little pre-steps to actually get to the main event.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Walt Disney World doesn't have that problem because they have all the space in the world to do whatever they want.
Well, I'm telling you, if Disney and the city of Anaheim would just listen to me and send out those 90-day eviction notices, they wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah, well, I wish you.
I mean,
He wants
yeah,
to- he
yeah.
wants
We
to-
don't have that. We don't have the benefit of having what is that Reedy Creek out there where they just kind of manage everything and
Yeah.
things
Well-
just get done.
Well, no, and that I mean, if we want to compare them, we really have in the state a more restrictive construction attitude towards construction out here.
Yeah.
We just do.
Yeah.
Believe me, we really do. So that's going to be another thing. Not only do we have the space constraints, but then we have a very heavily constrained construction codes and scheduling and permitting and red tape. You guys both know, all three of you know, I've gone on quite long tirades about red tape and how they slow everything down and how in the state is just horrible for it. So the attitude is not going to help. So that's another part of the thing that I kind of am hoping the new leadership in Disney can start to begin to kind of talk to the people in charge, the counties, the county representatives, the state reps, and being like, hey guys, we need your help to get going with this stuff. Not cut corners, not that, but just be able to speed up the permitting, speed up the inspections, and speed all that up. Definitely.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, Newsom has signed some stuff more pertaining to residential construction to kind of loosen up some of this stuff, but I think that's going to permeate a little bit out further into the more commercial area. So we'll see what happens, but that's really one of the key things as well.
Well, see, it's funny you say that, Udi, because now with what's also going on, outside the park in the Disney company with California legislature, Newsom's governorship is ending pretty soon. They're going to elect a new governor for the state of California. So I'm kind of curious what type of bipartisan work they're going to do with the Disney company, because this new governor might have a different thought process. It might be better for Disney. It might be worse for Disney. We don't know yet. And that's kind of concerning.
No, 100%. Like, I mean, I think the way I look at it, I know who I feel as far as the people who are running for government, who win, whatever candidate wins, what each one will probably do to help work into the process. I know which one I feel would be the one to be like, let's go speed it up and be on board. And I feel like one other candidate is going to be like, man.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because of reasons. I'll just say that reasons.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I feel like, and not to get into political reasons, but I feel like that's why companies like Disney, they try to tend to play ball for whoever does get into office or what have you, because in a sense, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. So it's almost like you have to, well, we have theme park conductor on it, so you have to kiss the caboose, basically to kind of to get ahead.
You're not wrong.
Now, I wanted to bring up, because I am going to bring up this topic a little bit further on, but I just want to touch upon it a little bit because of what we're talking about. D23 is almost upon us, and I'm very curious that they're going to have a lot of news breaking out with the parks and what have you, but I'm very curious if they kind of go in a little bit of a direction where can we possibly get news on the Eastern Gateway? And I know that like a lot of fans sitting in the Honda Center, they're going to be like, wow, we paid all this money and they're showing us a bridge, connected to a parking structure. But for me, I think that's very detrimental for them to do, because in order to be able to get more into the parks, this is the first part that needs to be done. So they can kind of do their Jenga moves and basically move the pieces all around. So I'm very curious to see if we get some sort of clarification of when could we possibly see the parking structure completed? When are we going to see the bridge? When, like, I'm interested in when that's going to be, because I would have thought literally by now the parking structure would have been up. Maybe not the bridge. I'd say they would maybe still be working on the bridge, but I thought at least the parking structure would have been done.
No, you're not wrong. And without going too far into it, what I feel now is going to happen for D23 is you're going to get updates, at least for us, right, over here on the West Coast. We're going to get updates on Coco. We're going to definitely get updates on Avatar. And if we get anything on Eastern Gateway, it's going to be a flyover. If we get anything. I'm not very hopeful for that because it doesn't have splash. It doesn't have any kind of disaster. Like, we're going to build a parking structure. Cool. You know what I mean? How many fans in there are going to be like, yeah, we will be applauding and clapping and probably telling everybody around it, you know what this means, right? Like, you know, like, I feel like we're kind of the people who try to tell other people who are kind of there passively, this is why it sounds like a bridge. It sounds like a parking lot. Who cares, right? But no, here, let me show you the bigger picture. That's why this is important. But I think, you know, it'll be interesting to see again. I think we've all talked about it at some length about it being Josh D'Amaro's first solo. This is his thing.
But isn't Neil Patrick Harris doing it?
He's hosting.
Yeah, but he's there though. That's my point. This is under his watch. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. So that's just my 2 cents. I feel like we're going to get that, and then very little, maybe a flyover, because again, that to me is more of the nuts and bolts minutia that doesn't put a splash on the page of anybody, any big time splash. It doesn't move the needle for stock. It doesn't do anything. It just gets us who are really into the park and looking at the future in that way. That gets us excited. So,
I'm gonna add something to, and again, I know me and George talk about doing a predictions either live or a video coming up, but I think, you know, alongside getting the details for Avatar, alongside getting the details for Coco, I honestly think, you know, going off that, we might actually get more detail on Avatar more than anything, because if you look at the Lilo and Stitch parking lot, because me and George walked past it last night, they have a huge section walled off with construction walls that they are actually relocating, supposedly, the Uber drop-off and pickup area right outside the Hollywood backlot. They're going to relocate it to the Lilo and Stitch parking lot, probably temporarily until the Eastern Gateway is built. Mm-hmm. And that could give us a bigger picture of possibly Avatar expanding even bigger than what we initially thought. So I guarantee we're going to get details on that more likely. And then I think we can still get some, you know, wild prediction announcements for Disneyland, meaning, like, for example, Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
We could get that restaurant we never got. That's a small win. They could get that up and running since the infrastructure is already built initially, because they already were halfway through construction before they axed the project, and we could get that up in like 8, 9, maybe 10 months, but they can announce that at D23. So little small wins like that throughout the resort.
Sure.
You know.
You were going to say something, Mark?
I did, yeah, and because I want to go back to that, but the one thing we haven't mentioned yet, and they absolutely will talk about this, is I think we are going to get a bigger sneak preview of what the Avengers Campus e-ticket attraction is. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be fleshed out more, and I think we're going to get maybe like a virtual. I mean, we've only seen like one or two conceptual art things of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. and the you know, Avengers out there. So I think we're going to get a bigger preview of that. And also, I know there's some talk about a new bar or a new restaurant coming up there. I think that's going to be released as well. So I think it's going to be heavy Avengers Campus, Coco, a little bit of Avatar. And I don't know that they will talk about Disneyland Forward, but to your point, George, I think they owe us something with that, because it was what 4 years ago, 5 years ago that we talked about it.
Yep.
and haven't seen anything beyond that. So, and then of course, what conductor was saying, I hope we get a couple of things about Disneyland, but I think it's going to be DCA heavy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised going along that we get an actual opening date for all that.
Yeah.
For what?
Long now for Avengers. For the expansion out. I think we'll get an opening date for that.
I think we would have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're at the point where we really should. Honestly, I really hope they don't give us, fall 2027. No, don't give me that. Give me a date.
Give me a hard date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, last when we were in the park in January, right? January.
No.
No, I was
March.
in the park March. Yeah.
No,
May.
May.
May?
We were there in May.
Was it May? Man,
Yeah.
So much has happened since then. So when I looked at it, remember we all climbed up there. We kind of on Friday. On that Friday, was it Friday? Yes. I believe now. I mean, it should be much further along. I think I explained to you guys that one of the reasons why the section that we're looking at wasn't very far along was because it wasn't dried in. That has had to have been done, and once that gets moving, if they have a good, I'm pretty sure they do, have a good contract as far as electrical and everything else gets moving, those guys are probably union guys, and they're probably moving along. So, I think that probably has a much more firm, concrete idea of when they can actually have everything up and going. Now, as opposed to when we were there a few months ago.
I'm just trying to figure out why a lot of times, and we talked about this, we beat this to death how many times, of why it takes so long for them to announce something like out here in California than it would in Florida. Like, it's not even just an announcement. It's like just the movement of things. Like, it just, like, everything progresses like so quickly over in Florida, where it's just like, and they're getting like massive lands. If you really look at all the projects that are coming out of Florida, Tropical Americas, Monstropolis, Piston Peak, Villains, these are full on lands.
Yeah.
Where with Disneyland, we're getting individual attractions, which is great. I mean, minus Avatar, but until I actually see concrete evidence. I know it's going in Hollywoodland, but I mean, I have to see it for sure. But until we actually get more things about it, it's like I just don't understand why it takes so long.
Yeah, and this is kind of where we've kind of talked about it. I think there's going to be no definitive answer. I think it's going to be a big, just a bunch of different things, a bunch of different factors that all apply. It's just sadly different out here. It's just sadly different out here. It really is. Without going too far into it, we don't have the readily available space mixed with the governmental oversight that is being done here versus up there.
Well, I also think that that in the portfolio of Disney parks, they have to handle Disneyland probably with the most care.
You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
So I think they're very. I mean, and it's frustrating for a fan, but I understand why everything is thought out and rethought out, and make sure we're doing everything right with this, because it's, I'm not being biased, but it really is like the crown jewel of their parks. It isn't the prettiest. I mean, I would imagine that Disneyland Paris is the prettiest, but it's, we all know what it is. So it's, I think for that part, they had to be very, very careful, but it's also a combination of just our politics here and all the red tape and how everyone has to have their hand on the construction.
Yeah. No, and that aspect you brought up about Disneyland being, I mean, we say it all the time on our show. It is a locals park, but the other big factor is that's Walt's Park.
Yeah,
everything began there. Everything it comes from there. So definitely the reverence of that area is definitely at a different level. People lose their ever-living mind if you move a bench one day. It happens.
I do.
Literally today in our show's thread, they were certain people in our podcast we're kind of going off about a signature and a character, and I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to yell about today. Fine, okay, but that's what I'm saying. It's just different at the extent. Me never being to Florida, I know that I can't speak to that. You, all of you have been there. I have not. So I don't know. You guys tell me. Is that kind of reverence for? Do people have that kind of reverence for the Florida parks? Any of them, as it is over here in Disneyland proper? Do you know of anyone who has that level like we do for Disneyland proper?
Well, George could probably answer that one the best out of the three of us.
Yeah, he's one. He was in some park for a while.
Yeah, I feel like until I actually came out to Disneyland, I really didn't have really too much reference to go by it. And what really opened my eyes to everything was actually in 2020 when we had the shutdown, because I had a Premier Passport, which they don't no longer have anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That was an annual pass that covered both Walt Disney World and Disneyland. When the shutdown happened and they were giving out refunds to everything, being that mine was a dual annual pass, I thought, okay, well, they just, refund me and that's that. But being that it has both resorts, I was being tossed around like a ping pong ball. Disneyland's telling me call Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World's telling me call Disneyland. I had to literally go through both resorts in order to get the refunds, but they had to individually refund me. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because that's when I noticed that both Disneyland and Walt Disney World are two totally different beasts. And it's not even just operation wise, it's literally how they handle things. So I guess probably to answer my own question, I think it's just more so not because that Disneyland, they don't want Disneyland, to move forward, like of how they do things with Walt Disney World. I just think, as you guys had mentioned, like in the state of, Florida compared to California and everything, there's just a lot more different ways of how things are handled.
Yeah.
But I've noticed, like, a lot of the times by going into Walt Disney World a lot, literally, like, things will, be changed. And people kind of get up in arms about it, obviously, because of, like, with the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island. But I think other than that, really, I think people get more up in arms out here when it comes to, as Udi, as you had mentioned, like just moving a bench.
Right.
Like it's almost like they treat like Disneyland that it's just like this precious time capsule of a park, and it's like, don't touch it, kind of.
Yeah.
So it's like they're kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. It's like we want to see expansion, we want to see growth, we want to see stuff new, but then it's also a little bit of a contradiction when we're like, okay, well, you can touch this, but you can't touch that. You can touch that. Yeah. So it's like kind of like, what's the balance? Like, which way do you go with it?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. See, so that's kind of again, these are all the aspects. I think there's no one solid question why construction takes so much long, or no one solid answer to the question why construction takes forever over here. But I think the one thing, though, that Disney needs to try to capitalize on is the fact that what Disney Forward and what's going on with that they can try to go like, look, guys, we're not going to be touching the core of Disneyland. This isn't pieces that get added on. I mean, we can all remember, at least I remember quite well, when Galaxy's Edge was announced, and people, I mean, we had, oh man, so many conversations about that, right? Like, how's it going to go? Where's it going to go? Same things we're having right now with Avatar, right? Where's it going to go? How's it going to look? How's it going to affect the park? But it's something different from DC, obviously, to Disneyland. And when they said it's going to Disneyland, we all went, what in the actual what? So the way they handle that was, my opinion, was done very well, because where they put it, they kind of look, we're not going to touch anything right here. The only thing that they redirected a couple of things, but overall the effect was very minimal in the park.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But they need to sell that all this stuff right now is out here. It's out here. It's beyond the berm, right? Well, we can put it out, right? It's beyond the berm. You can begin to build out here, and people can be like, "Hey, calm down over here. We got it." You know what I mean?
Right.
And they can sell that better.
I want to comment on that just real quick. When you mentioned Galaxy's Edge and people going up in arms, now I know Conductor and George, I've heard you say, don't ever get married to concept art. And for the most part, I'm totally in league with you on that because it's just conceptual art. But when they said they're gonna alter the Rivers of America, we all did this clutching our pearls moment. And when they released the concept art for what they were gonna do for Rivers of America, I go, oh, okay, well, if they can make it look like this, I'm gonna be happy. But even then, I was like, well, this is just concept art. Who knows what these guys are gonna do? But if it looks like this, I'm gonna be stoked. And just in my opinion, I think they did a lot better in real life than what they did with the concept art. What do you guys say about that for the Rivers of America?
I agree.
Well, I think here's the thing, and I mentioned this to Conductor, and I can't remember if I brought it up to you guys, but if I did, we'll mention it again.
Sure.
A lot of media influencers, content creators are now starting to get invited to behind the scenes, backstage area where they're able to put on the vests, put on the hard hats, look at the construction and everything and go behind the scenes and what have you. And I think that's actually a really cool thing because I feel like when you actually visualize something, no matter how much of a concept art that they show us, we can get excited and say, wow, that's really cool. But is that what they're really going to give us? Or we look at it and say, oh my God, that looks so plastic. It looks like a big pile of dung heap, but it can turn out looking really nice in the end.
Right.
I think if they allow us to kind of like pull back the curtain a little bit and show us the progression of like how things are being built and what have you in the construction type way, I think I would love for them to incorporate us more, not even just the media. Like through D23, through the Disney VIP tours, if they had something, I'd pay $300 to do that tour. I'd pay $400 for a D23 ticket to go do that. Plus Disney would be capitalizing on it. And then we can be able to say, oh, wow, yeah, okay, it's starting to come together. And they start describing, like if, Mark, you had mentioned about like for what they're going to do with the Rivers of America. Okay, we're going to, as you can see, we're constructing the geysers over here and we're building the mountain range over here. I think if like we visually got to see it after, of course, it's announced. I don't expect them to do all this before they make the official announcement, but I think it would at least give us some clarification and make us feel better of like what we're actually going to see.
Well, here's where I have, wow, me personally would love that. I'd be all over that. Here's the problem. Here's the problem that you run across with this. Disney's about show. It's not about, at the end of the day, it's show, right? The show needs to be, is paramount. It is, nothing is more important than the show. For me, if they go too far with that, you're kind of the magician telling the people how we did the trick. So if they are going to do that, I don't think you need to put the run-of-the-mill average park goer through that experience. I think if they want to use influencers, they want to use, podcasters and YouTubers like us for that, they need to be very mindful who they pick because it's got to be, I think if they're going to do that, which I agree with, I think they should, but they have to be really, really particular on who it is because you have to, okay, how can I put it this way? When you walk into, you take your car to the mechanic, you have to get the head gasket redone. Heaven forbid it happens, but you have to, right? You come in midway through that, everything's all over the place, and you go, what in that is going on with my car, right? You can absolutely lose your mind over what they did. And you go, hold on. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things like, the right people need to be there, be able to look at that and actually know, like, oh, I see that now. I can see how this is going to go here. I can see how it's going to go here. And that's just not everybody. More people come to us and go like, what does that mean? Because we're just more into it. You know what I mean? So I feel like it would be cool. But I don't know if Disney will do that at these stages because it's way too early. When they do things like this, it's usually right near the end of the project, right? When we've seen videos of them like, look, we're putting the finishing touches on this project and that project, it's because at that point now most of the magic is going to be intact no matter what they show. And I think this is the little bit of difference between Disney and how they operate their parks as opposed to other theme parks and other amusement parks, because there's no show there. There's no magic there. It's just like, hey, thrill ride, boom. Like, I mean, Universal Studios with Fast and Furious. Who cares? The ride, roller coaster, sweet. Okay, we don't care. It doesn't really add or take away. But if you do that with Disneyland, you can take away a little bit of stuff. Like, again, it's not for everybody, and I think it's more important for Disney to reserve that magic and reserve that illusion and show than to show people like us, this is how it works. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like that? Do you feel like, but it's going down that road anyway? Because even for influencers and media, they never even peeked behind the curtain. So this is actually a new forum, even for Disney. And I agree with you. I think it has to be a certain amount of people. It has to be a certain type of people.
Well,
I guess more so like, yeah, if you do like look at it at like a normie perspective, I mean, those are the people that like you just say, oh yeah, we're throwing something with Frozen and they'll go nuts. You know, like, and where you have people like us, it's like, okay, well, can we get something a little bit different, a little bit new? You know, like why are they doing this kind of thing? You know, we dive deeper into it.
Yeah, and I think they are moving in this direction, and I think part of that, I think selfishly for them, is it's another form of press. I think at one level, yeah, they want to give it to the fans so the fans can get a little bit more excited. But I think that's another thing that's more just another revenue stream for them. So I feel like it's a balancing act with them, and I don't know. That's just me. I don't think they need to go too far down this path because I don't think in the long run it does really anything. Like again, if they want to be like, hey, we want to show you how stuff works backstage. Cool. That's not for everybody. That's going to be, like I said, that's going to be for people like us who are definitely into all of that, and we want to know. I think the vast majority of the population of the park though is going to be like, yeah, cool. It's just not. They like the show and they'll stay right at that point, which is fine, which is good.
Yeah, I can understand that, definitely. I think I feel like, yeah, Disney does have to be careful because, yeah, if you open up that Pandora's box,
yeah,
and the gates flood open, then if it gets all crazy, then it's going to be a lot more harder to retract. Because then people start having that expectation. Even with D23, like they opened up that Pandora's box by, you know, showcasing all these, you know, new big announcements. Even though they did the announcements, what really D23 is a convention for the fans, for all four corners of the company, with studio, with streaming, with music, with animation, with everything. And people kind of take D23 as, oh, well, it's just for parks. It's just for the big announcement. And it's not what it's about. They have that as part of it because the parks are a very significant part of the Walt Disney Company. But every time you bring up D23, people automatically immediately say, oh, but I wonder what the big announcement for the parks is this year, which is very true. We get intrigued, but that's really not what D23 is all about. Right. Especially when someone who went to literally every single one since 2009, I've seen the change in how people look at D23. Because Disney then said, okay, we're going to do this biannual convention, and this is when we're going to like make all these big announcements. It's going to draw in the crowd, so people expect that. And then if you don't give that expectation, God forbid, it's like then people just go nuts.
Oh, right.
A monster of their own.
And then Billy Rides, welcome in. Speaking of Star Wars, what do you think about if a Star Wars OT Cosmic Rewind replaced the Hyperion and animation at DCA? Then Disney's 3 big Hollywood blockbusters could be in the same area. I have a problem, honestly, with Avatar going in DCA. I really think throwing Star Wars into the mix of DCA, that would just be I mean, I appreciate the ambition, Billy. That would be something to literally have like all 3 of them there. But I'm still even trying to picture how we're going to go from a street that's in California and we're going to turn and then segue into Pandora. Now, with Star Wars, I'm all for with expanding Galaxy's Edge. I think we need more in Galaxy's Edge. Conductor had mentioned about like the restaurant and everything earlier, but what do you guys think of Billy Ride's comment? Because Udi, I know you're a huge Star Wars fan.
Well, I'll keep it real brief. No, no, I wouldn't like that at all. I get where he's coming from, but no. What they're doing over there, with what they're planning on doing is plenty. So Star Wars, I think you keep it in Galaxy's Edge and you build on that. I'll just give my real quick 2 things that need to be fixed at current state of Galaxy's Edge. One, like Conductor said, restaurant, 100%. That needs to happen. That needs to go in full sit down, show the whole thing. That adds a whole other level of just interactivity and immersion, right? The second thing is they need to take Rise of the Resistance and make it Rise of the Rebellion, and then, my God, the place will be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I remember having that conversation with you when we were in line for Soarin', and
yeah,
I'm all for that.
Oh my gosh, right.
I have it all in my head. I know exactly what scene to change. I know exactly how to do it. I'm like, man, this is how you do this right here, right here, right here, right here. And we're gravy.
Mm-hmm.
Done. And then everybody loses their mind. And then Galaxy's Edge is a full encompassing land that everybody wants to go to. Just saying.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, I did bring this up because speaking of like Avatar and Pandora and going over, this is also courtesy of Theme Park IQ. Now, again, not too much information on it, but it was just something that was just mentioned. And I thought, well, since we're kind of on the topic, let's, put it up. So he says, confidential new commercial construction, amusement, social, and recreational, and where you can kind of see the little pin right there. That is at the very beginning entrance of Disney California Adventure, and then right here, this building right here is the Oswald like garage and gas station kind of thing that runs behind it is where Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue is, which is that's where assumed to be Pandora is going to go. Mm-hmm. So, Conductor, I want to actually ask you, because we kind of dived into that, but maybe we can dive into it a little bit more, because we kind of agree, but I think you and I have like different takes on it. Like, I think you're a little bit more okay with it. If they were to kind of remove that area and kind of have more of another entranceway into Pandora, where I just think no matter how they do this, and I honestly, I could be eating crow when all this is said and done, and it may look much better, but I just can't visually see it. I really honestly can't. But if you wanted to kind of like add on to like what could possibly happen here.
Sure. If you could click on the picture and make it a little bit bigger.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So where the red dot sits, and it's funny because I called Mark the other night. I don't know if I woke him up, but
no.
I called him.
He wakes me up, so you're good.
And I was talking to Mark, and I said, you got to look at this post. I sent it to him. We talked for about a good 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But looking at this picture, where the red dot sits right now, like George mentioned, you have the Oswald Garage Gift Shop. You have DCA's version of City Hall. And then literally behind it, outside DCA, you have guest relations, you have restrooms, and you have the lockers.
Mhm.
But that big, long green tent is the security area.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel this is a good spot, at least in my opinion, for the transition to walk into Avatar. Because I know how George feels. I feel the same way. I don't really like Avatar in this section of DCA, but since Disney's gun-ho on putting it here, I would honestly want to believe that the best transition, I hate to say it because it's not going to be Hollywood Boulevard. I don't care what they try to do, it's not going to make sense. I think the only way it's going to even make somewhat sense to me, you get rid of these two buildings, and right where that red dot is, or right where the service road is, right there, that's where the big archway would be to walk into Avatar. So it's not going to be directly on Buena Vista Street when you walk into the gates, but it is going to be to your immediate left, but it's going to be kind of sunken in a little bit. So it's not right on the main pathway, but it's going to be close to that main pathway. I think that
I will say that does, the way you describe it of that, it does sound like the better of two evils, I guess. Because I think honestly that would be a little bit more better than walking down Hollywood Boulevard. And so would they actually just enclose that part off? Or would that be another entranceway? So they would have two entrances.
So I think, okay, Hollywood Boulevard, so where Smoothies is, they would block off that entrance into the land. They would block that off. I personally think the far entrance by where the Hyperion building is in Hollywood and Dine, that furthest entrance, that would be the exit to the land. That way it's, kind of way down there. It's not that Disney doesn't have to work overtime to sit there and justify, the exit because it's far down. I think that's just the way I'm looking at it. Because if you try to put an entrance in the Avatar on Hollywood Boulevard, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a recipe for a disaster.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the option I'm providing is a great option either, but like you said, George, the two options, the best of both evils. I think this makes the most logical sense because, like I said earlier on, they are in the process of relocating the Uber drop-off area. So that's just going to hopefully expand Avatar a little bit further out and make it a little bit bigger, which means the service road is going to be pushed out a lot farther than we thought, hopefully. So that's the way I see it, because I do want to transition. Like, I mean, I don't want to walk off Hollywood Boulevard and boom, I'm in Avatar. The only justification I could see them doing that is, oh, well, Avatar, it's part of Hollywood film history. Or there's some California aspects in there which I still don't understand. There's kind of that just confusion. So I rather have almost like an Epic Universe style entrance portal in the Avatar. And I think that spot that IQ was zoning in on, I think that would be the best spot.
Yeah, I love that, conductor. And my question would be like, I'm kind of like going to approach this as if we're all, Imagineers here and we're sitting around talking about it. It's like, okay, this is great, but is it going to cause a log jam of guests as soon as you scan into DCA to the left? Is it going to back people up?
That's an interesting question, Mark, because there is some workaround to this. Because if you think about it, I know it sounds totally ridiculous, but if they had to, they could, like I said, they could sink in the entrance portal a little bit so it's not right, like smack on.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel too they could close off some of the gates on that far side for DCA. They
Oh,
could
yeah.
do it. Again, this is just my Imagineer hat on because again, the problem with DCA, the problem with Disneyland, it's a bunch of puzzle pieces moving around. And it's not as easy to figure out as people think it is.
Right.
And Udi probably knows more than anything because he's in the construction field. He knows how it goes sometimes when you're building a foundation or you're building, different types of aspects for a project site. Sometimes it could be, mentally challenging how to figure that out. Or to someone that's on the outside and say, oh, well, why don't you just put it over there? And Udi's like, well, wait a second. We have 10 different reasons why we can't do that. There's this. So again, it's kind of hard to play out. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm really hoping for D23 we hear a lot more detail about Avatar, how it's going to fit in the DCA, what the entrance, where it's going to be located, possibly, and just a better model. Because George has repeatedly told me, I've looked at pictures, videos from 2024, and that model they had on the showroom floor, it did not look complete. It was very just, rushed. It's like, what am I even looking at? So, and the other question I have for you fellows too, since we're on the subject of Avatar, and Udi and Mark, I think I brought it up the last time I was on your channel. I think it was last week. I said because Disneyland Forward got approved to have 4 major structures that can reach 300 feet. Do you honestly think, and I'm just throwing it out there, wild prediction, that the onion rock work that we're going to see for Avatar could reach that 300 mark or close to it?
Well,
Wow.
that's
twice the height of Matterhorn.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Let me tell you. So, just so you know, conductor, after you got off the phone with Mark, he sent me all the pictures. So I literally got that text too. I was like,
oh, perfect.
And he's like, hey, conductor. He gave me like a really brief synopsis of what you guys talked about. So, just to kind of chime in on what your thought process is, I think you're spot on. I think everything that you're saying as far as the entrance and everything makes a lot of sense.
It totally does, yeah.
It makes a lot of sense for how it needs to go because we've talked about it. Everyone has talked about it. Everybody's talked about where it could go, how it could go, what we could do, what they could do, yada, yada, right? So that, I think, again, this is another thing kind of pointing, absolutely. So they could cut off, like they could cut off some of those gates, or they could just push the gates out into the Esplanade. It's not one of those big things where they could literally just move that whole thing and move it 15, 20 feet forward to create more space.
Yeah.
The Esplanade is plenty big, and there's room within the Esplanade. I think the other thing that I found myself doing, I think a lot of us have done, is that we're so spatially, how do I put it? We're so fixed in that space. We're so used to that space that expanding upon that space is difficult for a lot of people to imagine. Like, well, this is here. Well, what's going to happen here? Well, we got to take that out. What do you mean? It takes a different kind of mentality to be able to look at an existing space, whether it's a building, an open piece of land, or hole in the ground, and go like, and this is going to go right here, and then that's going to go right here, and then this is going to go right here. And some people just go like, what are you talking about? So as you're explaining your point of view, I'm sitting here nodding along going, absolutely. The entrance can absolutely go there. It's a longer transition in. The back end of it could filter right out into that, kind of like what they do with Galaxy's Edge and the Fantasyland, maybe a much shorter transition from the heart of the Pandora, Avatar, whatever they're going to call it, back out into to the Hollywood, right? And so I feel like these are all the pieces that are going to start coming together. So I think that 300-foot structure absolutely is going to have to be that. And I think the reason why it needs to be one of those needs to be that is it's going to do two things in my mind. I've talked about them before.
That's tall, Woody.
I know it's tall. I know it's tall. It may not. It's up to 300. It doesn't mean it has to be 300. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to do two things. One, I said my critique of Avatar, the land, it was always like I want to feel like I want to be pulled into that land, right? I need to be pulled in that land. So that big, onion thing, as we call it, that's kind of like that's the beacon, like come this way, right? So when we have different things in the land, we have the castle. When we go on the main street, we have the castle. You can have the Matterhorn. You can have Space Mountain. These are certain things that starts calling you, come this way. That's the one thing that I wanted to kind of feel with that, right? Like that needs to be our lighthouse, our beacon going, come over here. And I think that's going to serve that purpose. The other thing that's going to serve is also to cover up sight lines and cover up, the
show building.
The show building, and also I think aid to cover up the monorail. So I think it's going to serve those purposes so that you won't even see the monorail, and that'll be all there, and you'll be so caught up in being like, holy smokes, look at this. The spires over Galaxy's Edge were more of a backdrop, and they didn't really need that. That was more just to kind of stop your sight lines from going past out, right?
Right.
It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same idea. It's going to keep you from looking past to the hotels and all the stuff that's on the back side of that. Right on the other side of this thing, the street and all that's going to help hide all of it. So I've been building that.
I'm going to tell you this. This is something, and after listening to what you said, it actually makes sense. Because there is so much room in the Esplanade, and I know certain people that have been asking for a Esplanade remodel because it needs it desperately. So I could see the entrance gates for DCA getting pushed back another 5 to 20 feet. I could see it. The other thing too is when you have that big rock work, I think the wow moment, at least for me, the wow moment is literally going to be having the entrance where I was suggesting where IQ has that picture compared to going off Hollywood Boulevard, and you don't have time to kind of transition. You're like, boom, Hollywood, boom, Avatar. It's like, whoa. Because if you watch videos, and me and George got the opportunity to go into How You Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, it gives you that sense of what I'm talking about with Avatar. You walk through the portal, and it just literally just opens up, and it looks beautiful.
See, when you mention that, that brings me to the point of where I'm trying to figure out how, not even just the transition, but how it will coexist around it. Because when you go through the portal of Isle of Berk, there's one way in, one way out. There's nothing else around. So when you're in the Isle of Berk, that is basically what you're seeing. So I'm trying to really finagle around that. I hope that when we get into the land of Pandora, everything else is kind of non-existent. Because when you go into Cars Land, and again, maybe I'm maybe just because I've been into the park so many times that I'm starting to like notice these little things. But like when you go into Cars Land, it kind of drives me nuts that when you're over by Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, you could actually hear Peter Parker talking. And you're on the building, and you see Spider-Man swinging while you're in Cars Land. That to me drives me nuts.
Yeah,
it does. But see, my whole thing too is, and I talked to a mutual friend of mine, Orange Grove 55, on one of the episodes me and him did, because he shared the same concern. And I even share the same concern about sightline issues. But the problem is DCA is, and always has been until now, the stepchild of the Disney parks. It's never really fit in properly, I would say. And my whole thing is because people have mentioned, including OG, he's all like, well, you have Coco, and then you have the Incredicoaster right next to it. Isn't that a sightline problem? I'm like, dude, we have to mentally understand here. Okay, I understand sightlines are a big thing. I get that. But my thing is, prices go up every single year. We just saw it today. There was a post that was put out that a lot of the food items went up in price today at the Disneyland Resort. And as prices go up year by year or a couple times a year, whatever it might be, when do you decide that sightlines start being less of an issue to you and more things to do in the park for what you're paying for is more important? That's the way I'm looking at it, and I get it. Being in Cars Land, I don't want to see Spider-Man flying through the air. I don't want to hear it. I don't. But again, if you're going to charge me what you're charging me, either for a day ticket, park hopper ticket, or a Magic Key, my thought process is I'm starting to care less about sightline issues than I am what is available, what is offered in the park for what I'm paying for.
I can understand that to a certain degree, but I feel like that you're then kind of reducing your own values of what makes Disneyland special as opposed to other places that don't really do too well with that. Six Flags. So to me, when you're giving me a high premium price, I'm going to kind of hold you to that expectation that don't just throw something in there just to say, oh, because DCA doesn't get that much love. Yeah, so let's just throw it in there. To me, I think that's a bigger insult because I could count on my hands how many times that they would do that for Disneyland. I can seriously doubt for Disneyland they would just throw and plop something there just to say, and we're going to call it a day. No. I really want them to stop treating DCA like that stepchild. That's what drives me nuts, is start giving it the respect. And if you're going to do something as big and ambitious like something of Pandora, I would hope that they would do the best they can. But as I said, from the gate, even when they announced it, when Bob Iger mentioned it, that wasn't planned. He just mentioned it because he had to get everybody back from the whatever was going on when JPEG was in. And then after the call was over, he turns to Josh and is like, okay, we got to make this happen.
But I totally agree with you. Do not get me wrong. I really do. But being that we're so restricted out here on the West Coast, I'm not saying it's a contributing factor. I'm just saying that in general, is that maybe why projects, whether they're announced or they're in the pipeline and not ready to be announced, take so much longer at the Disneyland Resort because they're tap dancing around the fact that
I agree with. I agree with. I just think in where they are going to put Pandora.
Sure.
I just feel like that they could do something of a better atmosphere transition than choosing that IP.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think any other land would have been awesome. But the thing is, this is where we're at. So it's like, okay, Disney's not going to change their mind. They're hell-bent on putting it there. So it's almost like now it's like, okay, now we have to try to figure out how the transition is going to be. How we going to walk into the land? How we going to what's going to be our first impression walking in? What are we going to see from what angle? What's going to be our exit? There's all these factors in the play because I think at a point now we are so far past the point of them kind of undecided if they're going to put Avatar there or not. They've already decided. They've already made their mind up. So it's like, okay, now we have to analyze how they're going to lay it out. And that's what I'm
And
really
trust me, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong on this with all my concerns. I hope that they do this and they blow me away with it, where I could actually come on here, look into the camera and say, guess what? I was wrong. I want to have that moment, because I really don't want to walk into the park and it just basically is just sitting there. And I hope that they give it the TLC that they did done in Animal Kingdom, because the Pandora in Animal Kingdom is just so breathtaking.
Well, let me try to assuage you a bit, okay? Would it help if you, okay? So I feel like, as the conversation goes, I feel like you're in the box of, it's got to fit in this box. Everything we see, it's got to be in this box. And I'm going to tell you right now, whatever box you're putting in there, don't put it in there, because I don't think it's going to go in that box. I think we're very, again, like I was trying to say earlier, we're all so accustomed to the space that we're like, it's got to fit in this space. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I think I'm already going to go out and say, I said it for a long time that it's not coming. It's not coming. Believe you me, I'm wrong. Like, it's coming. And not only is it coming, I really feel like all the concerns I had came from that thing of it. Well, spatially, how's it going to fit? And this is exactly the conversation we're having. How's it going to fit? How's it going to fit? Valid question. But I think we need to be more comfortable with letting go of the current footprint and realizing they're probably going to trash a lot of stuff back there, and they're probably going to go outside of the existing gate and fence line, and they're probably going to push it in a lot of ways that we're like, oh, we didn't think about that. That was kind of my thing. For some people, spatially, they can't go to a flat piece of ground or a couple of 2x4s up and go like, this is going to be that. And I think this is where I think you're kind of in that spot. George is like, I feel like you're seeing that. I really feel, and I have full faith, that the concerns you have as far as the sight lines and everything, I think they're going to address all those. I think all that's going to be addressed, because I think they're trying to make DCA, and they have been for a long time, trying to make it a full-day park. A park that right across the Esplanade is Disneyland. Disney freaking Land is right over there. How do we compete with that? And we have to bring an A game to the table so that it isn't the redhead stepchild anymore, right? So I feel with what's going on with Adventures, with what they're planning, and I think they're pinning a lot of what they want to do to get that mentality away from, we can go into DCA and spend the whole day there, is Avatar. And I think they fully get that. The Coco is an add-on to push it this way and open up the park and add another piece to alleviate what's going on that side, because it's going to be heavy and they're going to pull it away. So it's going to take a while. We're literally walking into the opening parts of open heart surgery. So it's going to get ugly. It's going to get bloody. And we're going to be like, oh, what are we looking at? But I feel like at the end of the day, all that stuff that you're worried about, they are worried about it too. I just feel like they understand it's too important to screw it up.
Yeah.
Because they screwed it up before. They screwed up DCA almost from the rip. So I feel like those concerns are valid, but I also feel like those are all going to be addressed. And I think at the end of the day, the project is, and I really feel, and I'm with you, I really hope you're going to be able to come out on your show and be like, that was way wrong. I was so wrong. Yeah. And so, and I feel, I really wanted to get going, because I really want to do what we did with Avengers, the expansion Adventures. I want to be able to look at the dirt and go like, okay, what is the dirt telling me? You know, read the TV, read the dirt. Like, what is the dirt telling me? And I really wanted to get there, because that's when the fun is really going to start.
And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I really couldn't. So it's going to be very interesting to see what goes down, because we're only I think close to a month until D23 kicks off.
Right.
Actually, exactly a month. as of today, exactly a month will be the first day of D23, which obviously the first night is going to be the studios panel. But if we're talking parks, it's actually 31 days. But being that, I want to ask you both. I'm sure you've seen the news. This is kind of jumping back east. I want to ask you about Space Mountain, and I want to get George's opinion about this because the rumors circling the wagons that they are going to get a huge, massive renovation to that Space Mountain. I've never been on it. I know George has been on it. Mark, I don't know if you've been on it.
I have, yeah.
Okay, I've heard it's extremely rough. The ride vehicles are different. We got a retrack in the early 2000s for ours, and it's still one of the best Space Mountains. Obviously, when Tokyo opens, it's going to be the best. But let me ask you, do you guys think it's going to be a retrack? Do you think they might just say, hey, we're going to just tear it out and build the one that obviously Tokyo's getting for their Tomorrowland? What do you guys think about that? Because from what I've heard so far it's going to be a retrack. They're going to address the entrance and exit. They're going to do some reconfigurations to the building itself. So I'm kind of curious what you guys think and how that could possibly tie into our Tomorrowland getting a remodel in the near future, in the next maybe 5 to 10 years.
I'll let you guys go first.
Go ahead, go for it, Mark. Oh, well, I mean, I haven't written it, so I'll keep it short and sweet. I read that, and I found it interesting. I feel like I don't know that you can go into it and completely demo out the inside of it. But that being said, they could absolutely totally do that. You know, they could completely. I mean, think about that. I mean, I put in the context of our space, right? If they went in there and completely demoed the interior of it, you'd never see a stitch of it ever. I mean, you think of Mansion, right? The building was up and nothing was on the inside for how long? So I don't know. I think, not being on it, I can only guess that they'll address some major issues and probably just retrack it. I think that's probably the least expensive proposition on the table, and then redoing an entrance and exit is not a huge thing. So, and then you get your traction back and you get it back running. I also feel, I'm also a big proponent, though, to be fair, that I prefer that there's no retreads as far as any attraction in almost any of the parks. Right? I mean, us having a Frozen or something over here would be fine. But I want our version of it, not the retreads. So that's why Galaxy is such a plus for me back east or wherever you want to put it. Like, it's exactly the same thing. Like, what are you doing? So I would hope that they don't try to make it like anything they're building now, or try to make it like anything that was built. Keep your identity, fix the problems that are obvious, and then just live on. That's what I would hope.
Okay. Mark?
Yeah, so as far as having clones and like whatnot, so that is every Space Mountain that I know is different from one another. Magic Kingdom Space Mountain was the original one, and it has 2 tracks. Paris has an outdoor launch, and it has a loop inside. Ours is probably the most basic out of any of them, because we have 1 track. And like I said, ours is the second version of it. But the question is, what do I think they're going to do? I think that Space Mountain, where it sits, it has to compete with the very upscale Tron Light Cycles building, and that is something it needs to probably figure out if they want to, make it look more like the Shanghai one. But I've heard they're going to add possibly like an outdoor launch to this one in Florida.
Interesting.
I think that the cars in Florida need to get changed to ours because those are very Matterhorn-esque, where you're basically sitting like a one single row. And I don't remember the queue, but I remember it feel like it was a lot longer than our queue in Anaheim. I don't know if it is or not. It could have just been I was tired, but I think it's going to be a little bit more than what they're saying. And I think they need to bring their. I think it is going to be a little more than just like the queue. I think it's going to be a new track. I think the cars could be reconfigured, and I think there could be an outdoor launch. That's all to say that I know they're probably looking at ours as well. And, there's this talk about making ours look like the Shanghai one. But while that's cool, I still think ours and our spires are very iconic for the Anaheim skyline. So
Yeah.
I would have a hard time swallowing that pill if they went in that direction. If they could make a hybrid version that still kept the spires, I think the Matterhorn is the most iconic, but Space Mountain is the next thing that I usually see. So I don't know if I answered the question.
Well, see, I do find it very interesting that they are exploring that option or possibly could explore that option. I think they will not close Space Mountain, though, at least at the Magic Kingdom, for this remodel until at least some of the construction is done, meaning I would honestly think maybe Cars Land might be done before they touch the Space Mountain, because you have to think about it. Their Space Mountain, from what I analyzed when I was out there, they would have to close the People Mover, which is a people eater.
Yeah.
They would have to close, I would guess, I can't say for sure, but they would probably have to close the railroad in that section. Tron wouldn't be affected, but the other thing we have to remember too is the Carousel of Progress is going through a massive transformation right now.
Oh, yeah.
You can't have two massive attractions be down for massive renovations at the same time in the same area. So I think they're going to wait until the Carousel Progress reopens, possibly Cars Land opens, maybe one of the other projects, probably Tropical Americas and Animal Kingdom opens before they close Space Mountain. I think it would just be detrimental to close it right now. I think there's a possibility they might talk about it at D23, whether it's at the park panel or somewhere on the showroom floor, maybe in the Imagineering Pavilion. I'm not sure. But that's my thought process. I don't think they're going to close it as soon as they announce it. That would be a big mistake.
No. I think honestly, with all the rumbles going on and how Disney is kind of utilizing, some of that, the money that's being put towards the parks is also, updating them, and renovating them. And I feel like that Space Mountain is next on the list, especially after, coming off of Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger Spin, Big Thunder Mountain, Conductor, as you had mentioned, Carousel of Progress. Carousel of Progress, I don't think would take that long. I feel like that it should be maybe online sometime in 2027.
I was just
I think that they would probably announce, if they are going to do this, of Space Mountain at this D23. But I agree with you. I feel like once Carousel of Progress is up and running, then they'll close it down, especially because, as you had mentioned, it's two attractions that are very close to one another in the same land. Yeah. When it comes to Disneyland, the problem with Disneyland is, I feel like, kind of going back to the same thing, I feel like Walt Disney World can get away with a little bit more because and when I say more to do, I'm not meaning just of attraction wise, because when you look at the number of rides in Disneyland Park, they are equivalent to adding how many of the rides within the 4 parks of Walt Disney World. But there's a lot of other things that go on in the resort of Walt Disney World that keeps a lot of guests occupied.
Yes.
You don't really get that too much with Disneyland. So everything is precious when it comes to in the parks. And if you close down something significant, that's gonna hurt you operation wise. And I feel like with Magic Kingdom, with them opening up Tron, I feel like Tron would kind of be that substitute, to have Space Mountain down for a long period of time. It'll still draw people into that land, where if you close down Space Mountain right now, I don't know how really people would take the fact of going into Tomorrowland at Disneyland. But again, at some point, it's going to happen. Tomorrowland is going to get like a major overhaul. I'm for sure they'll probably do it in phases. I don't think that they would close down the land completely. But until then, they're going to have to put something significant in Disneyland first. And I actually brought this up to Conductor last night when we were walking. That's why I feel like that they would touch the Lilo and Stitch parking lot for the Disneyland expansion first before touching Tomorrowland. Because once you then add something to Disneyland, especially since it's on the opposite side of the park, it can draw people away from that park. For right now, I just can't foresee them touching Disneyland's Tomorrowland right now.
No. I don't think we're gonna hear anything until very at the earliest the 2028 D23, if not the 2030 D23, because I think they're gonna go balls to the walls with our Tomorrowland, and they are gonna close it off completely. There is gonna be no and I'm not saying that they wouldn't do this, but I think out of all the content from different videos from different content creators and listening to what they've all said, kind of doing that deep dive thought process, our Tomorrowland is almost like Legos, on the surface and then underground. And I think it would be a lot more difficult if they went piece by piece instead of just ripping it all out and starting over. But I do agree with George. I think expanding into the Lilo and Stitch parking lot, having the stuff in DCA available, being Avengers and Coco at the very least, I think that would help. Possibly even Avatar, who knows? But at least those other 2 expansions and then the one at Disneyland, I think then they could justify closing Tomorrowland completely. Because like I said, it needs a complete remodel. I don't think it has the ability, from what I've heard, what I've seen, what I've experienced going to both Tomorrowlands. It doesn't have the same thing that the Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland is, where they could just do piece by piece. Ours is built way too differently, even though aesthetically it looks the same from the surface, but underground it's 2 completely different stories. So I think the best thing Disney can do for ours when they're good and ready is just to wall it off all the way around and just start demoing everything and starting over. Yeah. I'm just being honest.
Oh, and to answer your question, Conductor, I forgot to actually answer it. I would honestly say gut the whole interior of Magic Kingdom's Space Mountain. I would keep the same kind of queue line, the entranceway, because you do kind of go down and go through a long hallway kind of thing that goes into that. I would definitely keep. But as far as the track, the vehicles, I think it is way overdue. Because as I said, for me, that ride is very rough. I would actually honestly say at times it's a little bit more rougher than the Matterhorn, because I actually have a kind of like a cheat that I do for Matterhorn, where you lean forward and you move with the track, sort of like you're actually on a toboggan. The problem is, if you try that with Space Mountain, you can't see where you're going. so you don't know really like which way to move with the track. So when you're that low inside a vehicle, and those bars come like all the way like to your waist, to your stomach, and I'm like, do they not know, like with these vehicles, that we're men? Do they know what we have?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I'm like walking out of there, and it's like I have a division sign, and it's like, but I think honestly, new like you would have to have a new track to have the new vehicles,
Yes.
because the vehicles fit that kind of. It's a more narrow track than the one out here. Yeah, so that's why I say literally just kind of gut it and rebuild.
Well, okay, so this is the next thing I want to bring to your guys' attention, because both me and George have seen it. George, I know when I called you last night or during the day, I can't even remember. You were watching Jack from DSNY's latest video about D23 predictions, all this stuff. I think right now, as it sits, because a lot of people have said this, I'm guilty of it myself. Walt Disney World, the Magic Kingdom, all the parks out there for the resort are getting a lot of love. New updates, new attractions, new lands, new this, new that. And actually, it's quite funny I mentioned that, because Blog Mickey actually reported 14 hours ago that there is a new permit filed for a backstage expansion at Typhoon Lagoon, which is one of their water parks out there. So I think what's going to wind up happening, this is just my thought process. I think we're getting a little love at the Disneyland Resort, meaning DCA with Disneyland Forward. But for right now, the main focal point for construction is Walt Disney World. But I would say give it another 5 to 6 years. So maybe 2030, 2031, maybe 32 at the latest. And then you're going to see a seismic shift of a lot of construction happen at the Disneyland Resort. I think the main focal point right now is Walt Disney World, but once they're done with that, they're caught up. A lot of construction for Disneyland Forward is really going to ramp up here at the Disneyland Resort.
I agree with you, because I feel like this is the pinnacle point right now that they have to get all their ducks in a row. Yeah. And again, they have to maneuver everything around, because of the rezoning, the changing like of the parking lots, adding the parking structure, adding the bridge, rerouting the other bridge on the opposite side, changing the security, changing the Uber drop off. Disney World doesn't have to worry about any of that stuff. So they have to take care. So it's like kind of like the unappealing, unmagical phase right now. But it's like once we get through all that, then we can start getting the goodies in the basket, so to speak. And I'm glad you brought up Typhoon Lagoon, because I did see that too. And I thought the fact that they're actually going to be putting time, effort, and money into this water park tells me that, okay, they're like, they really want to like up the game here. And again, that might be another surprise at D23 that they could end up mentioning what they're doing with Typhoon Lagoon. And then eventually they'll probably do something with Blizzard Beach. But yeah, I'm very curious about that myself. But I think it's not just about expansions. It's not just about adding new rides. It's literally giving the love of these current attractions that we have, because they constantly run day in and day out. Even when the park closes and we leave, those rides keep moving.
100%. They do. So it begs the question, by 2030, that D23, which there's one more before that, which is 2028, but 2030, I'm kind of wondering if it's going to be 2028 or 2030. We're going to hear a laundry list of announcements for the Disneyland Resort, meaning Disneyland Forward. I mean, possibly with the Lilo and Stitch parking lot, with the Simba parking lot, possibly what they're exploring on doing with the third gate, with the Toy Story parking lot, because by then we will have Coco open, we will have Avatar open, we'll have Avengers Campus expansion open, We'll have the Eastern Gateway built. And then we'll be at the next phase of construction for Disneyland Forward. And it begs the question at that time, if it's available, could we get an announcement, like just a wild card announcement from Disney that they made a deal with the city of Anaheim to buy Garden Walk, which would potentially be part of the third gate?
Yeah, I think in the long run, they're definitely. I think eventually they're going to add a third gate, and I really think the Toy Story parking lot is aimed for that. I know a lot of people are concerned and saying, it's not going to. They're going to do like another kind of Downtown Disney-esque kind of thing. I can't foresee them doing that when they're already adding so much to Downtown Disney already. They just opened up Gordon Ramsay Carnaby. They still have Arthur and Sons. They still have the barbecue restaurant that they're going to add. Like, they're investing so much. Why would you then put almost the same exact thing across the street when it's almost 75 acres that is already rezoned for theme park?
You want,
like, why would you not?
That would be, I'm telling you right now, that would be one of the biggest mistakes, because when you look at it, outside Disney, Downtown Disney, and even Disney Springs out in Walt Disney World, how many people, I would love to know, like, the actual numbers of people that visit outdoor malls, because everything's online. The convenience factor is ridiculous. One thing I can say about 2020, which there's hardly anything good about it, but 2020 really brought things to a new perspective on shopping. The convenience factor, even with streaming. That's why theaters are hurting for movies, because it's a convenience factor. Who wouldn't want to just sit at home? If you want something, you just order it online, be in the safety of your home. You don't have to drive anywhere, and it gets delivered to your house. Or if you want to go see a movie, you just go on your TV, like on Direct TV or Dish, or maybe just a streaming platform, and just rent a movie that you can see in the theaters right now. And you're at home, maybe get some Uber Eats and call it a night. The convenience factor is there. So I agree with George. It would be very, very stupid of them. And I'm going to say the word stupid because I mean that literally, for them to build another Downtown Disney Springs shopping district. That would be the dumbest thing they could do, personally.
Well, the beauty of all this is that we're going to see what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the fun part with everything. We start looking at all that. We begin to walk down this path. I agree with you in the sense that they can't do that. I mean, we've talked about it on our show. Like, what if they actually use the existing Downtown Disney, just let it get absorbed into the park and make a natural expansion? But I don't know. I mean, it's a tough call. We obviously have to see how what they're doing now is going to start taking out, because I think that's going to be one of the things is they're moving everything one step at a time. I think the bigger things is what we were talking about earlier, Coco, Vendors, Avatar. These are going to be the big pieces that are going to have to get put into place. Therefore, they can kind of scout everything settled and work and then go like, hey, where are we going to go from there? So I think that's kind of one of the things, like, that's why I go back to the question about Avatar. A lot of it is riding on that. A lot of it is riding on how Avatar gets plugged in, how that plays future movement, and how well it succeeds. So we'll see. I think it makes more sense for the gate over there. At one point, I thought it was like, well, you could if you're going to absorb the other area, but I don't know, man. Yeah, I'll put it like Mark said the other day, or just today. Whatever they decide, I'm optimistic. You know what I mean? And as a company, more so than I've been in quite some time. For a long time, I wasn't too thrilled or happy with the direction of the company, and the parks. And I feel like the mere fact that we're having these conversations about that are all good signs, right? And they're all reasons to be hopeful for where we're going.
Good, yeah, definitely good points, honestly. And I think you're right. I think like we're watching this all transpire like in front of us, you know, like, and it's like we're getting like one piece of the puzzle at a time. It's like we may not understand it now, but it like eventually it'll all come down where it will make sense, and we will look back at it and say, "Remember when we had that conversation where we weren't understanding what the hell they were doing?" But like, it's like, well, here it is, you know.
Yeah. It's like I feel like right now we're not getting a chapter at a time. We're literally getting like a paragraph at a time. So this is what it is like. It's almost like I feel like that's where we're at. We're getting a paragraph from a writer at every moment. Like it's not even a chapter. I feel like if we're getting a chapter, we could kind of have a little bit better idea. But we're literally getting a paragraph, and then we're reading it and trying to extrapolate. Well, what is that paragraph? The next paragraph changes the entire story. So that's why I said it's so simple. And I don't think it's lost on the Imagineering about how important Avatar is for this whole project moving forward down there. It's like this is. I'm not gonna say it's a keystone, but it's a good thing to really drive how everything's gonna go in the rest for the rest of the 10, 20, 30 year development.
Well, look how even like another piece of information came out where Piston Peak is not going to go as far back as we thought. It's only going to be about 4.5 acres, and it's going to be a lot more for Villain. So that then begs the question, could one of those surprise announcements be that once we get more fleshed out concept of what we're getting for Villain's Land, that it may not just be 2 rides, we may actually get a 3rd?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, like, it's like some of those like unanswered questions that like I'm really itching to know. And I don't know if we'll get it at this D23. I'm not 100% sure. But I hope we do get something. But I do know that D23 2028, that's going to almost be like the 2024 all over again. I feel like that's going to be the bigger one.
Yeah, and it is. And another surprise announcement they could do, because it's been rumored, it's been talked about, is could we get that Haunted Mansion parlor that we see on the Disney Treasure and the other Disney Cruise Line ship?
Mm-hmm.
That's very true. Maybe that was the extra room, or even for like a full Haunted Mansion restaurant.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's very possible. But again, I want to emphasize, though, in the next 5 years, Walt Disney World's going to get all the love. Do not get me wrong, but I'm telling you right now, once that 2030, 2032 mark hits, I'm telling you right now, Disneyland is going to go through a massive, massive transformation. And that's something I want to see. So again, it's kind of hard to sit there and see it now compared to into the future. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I want to hold out hope. I really do. I think going into this D23, I think what would solidify my thought process as someone that covers the parks like you fine gentlemen do is a lot of questions answered. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm hoping for myself.
Yeah.
Because again, we can only speculate so far, because then when we start going really outside the box, we're like, really, could they really do that? Come on. Really?
Yeah.
That's my thought process, but not everyone else's. Because as someone that publicly speaks on live streams, on videos with you guys and other people as well, you don't want to sound too far-fetched, but you don't want to sound like they're not going to do anything, like they're going to do the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? It's almost like we're all kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, because everyone I've seen talk about Avatar, talk about Coco, talk about Avengers, talk about any project happening at the Disneyland Resort, they're all talking about the same thing. There's really nobody that has more information than someone else. It's all the same subject. It's just different perspectives on that subject.
Right. Agreed. Well said, man. Well said.
And Udi, I want to ask you a question before we get to our last topic of the live. I may have asked you this question before, but if I haven't, or if I have, oh well, here we go again.
Mhm.
Being that you are in, the construction field and what have you, and timelines of how stuff is, going through the phases.
Mhm.
In the position that Disney is right now, where we don't really know anything too much of Pandora, they didn't really break ground with anything. They didn't close nothing off. But when they said that there was going to be maybe like a 5 or a 6 year time frame, which they said everything would be possibly completed by 2030, 2031. We're already practically almost over and done with 2026, moving into 2027, and nothing has been moved. Is it still feasible for them to have Pandora done by that timeline, or are we surpassed that where it's probably going to go beyond 2031?
5 years.
So you have just so you know, you have not asked me this question. Well, okay. So let me put it to you this way. It's difficult to kind of think about that because of a couple factors. Mainly, it's the progress of the pieces that need to move before they can get into it. I would go with this, okay? And I'm trying to picture, everything we talked about, how I feel like Conductor's pretty spot on what they're going to do as far as the entrance and everything. Yeah. I think it's going to be a hard push. I think it's going to be a hard push to hit that timeline. Now, if they go through and literally block it off and flatten the place, I would say it would speed that up. It would speed that up. And I really see them doing that. I really see them going in there, putting up nice big tall construction walls and being boom, and everything's just flat and starting from the bottom up. But it's going to be a hard push. I really think it's going to be a hard push. Now, that is just at the point of the attraction and not really knowing anything else. If they bring in, this is the hard part. This is going to be the difficult part. If they bring in the right crews, the right builders, the right assemblers, the right installers, that there's the human factor that applies so heavily, into this whole thing. Then you have the permitting and the logistical side of it. All those it's just a balancing act, it's a juggling act. So I can honestly say it's going to be a real hard push. I don't see them doing it. I could be way wrong, because crews, if they are willing to pay the overtime and get to work, I've seen some stuff get built quick. But,
and we've seen that they could, if possible. Even Disneyland Handcrafted, don't underestimate Disney, that they were literally in the documentary still building Disneyland on opening day. They were still fixing stuff.
Yeah.
Disneyland Handcrafted, or as I like to call the new title, OSHA's Nightmare.
Yeah.
Basically, they broke every rule in the book.
Oh my God. I see a guy with a heavy equipment like tipping over, and I'm like, oh my. Okay.
Oh yeah.
That is very true. Bryant, really quick, welcome in. And yes, to your statement, I think when it comes to a lot of the newer stuff that's going to be coming out into Disneyland and Walt Disney World, I'm going to do my hardest to really not watch the POVs. So when I do the vlogs, you guys could get the real raw reaction from me. So I will definitely do my best with that.
Good, yeah. Keep it real, man. Keep it real.
Keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
So for the final topic I wanted to discuss with you guys, because Conductor and I have talked about this before, but I haven't had you guys on to discuss this, and it is the new pirate audio animatronic that was added into Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean, and this thing has been getting lots of mixed reviews of people enjoying it. People don't really like it. With the I will say this, from seeing it in person, I'm kind of in the middle ground with it. where it's like I don't need it, but it's like, okay, it's a cool concept. But when they said that they were going to utilize the new state-of-the-art technology that they showcased off of, we call it Imagineering, I don't personally see it. And after interviewing Scott Gustin, where he said he got to actually see this animatronic literally up close in person at WDI, and he got to see what the technology could be done. He said that this audio animatronic doesn't showcase what the tech can do. So I wanted to get your guys' overall thoughts. I know you guys didn't get a chance to actually see it in person yet. You know, obviously you'll see it like when the next time when you guys come down, but just of what you've heard, what you've seen, what is your overall take on the pirate?
I guess I'll go first. Yeah. We haven't seen it, but my take is ultimately I'm happy that they're taking risks and they're doing stuff like this. My take is that this is very much a beta test to see what they can do, how the public is gauging it, and I think they are listening to the comments to see if they can fine tune it, because ultimately this is the tech that I believe is going to go in the Coco and future projects. That being said, from the audio of it, it sounds kind of goofy to me. It sounds like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, and it's I don't know. I know Udi and I talked about this before, where pirates aren't supposed to be smart people, and he sounds very unintelligent when he's just kind of moaning and everything like that. But I mean, I think it's going to get better. But I appreciate that they're actually taking chances and doing stuff like this. That's my initial thought.
Okay. What say you, Udi?
Well, I agree with Mark. I think when this, and thank you, George, by the way, for giving this. I just want to give a shout out to your little spots on our podcast, and you brought this up. And so,
yes, you did.
Yeah, and so when this got released, it was a surprise, right? No one was seeing this. No one saw us coming. And I think that's part of the reason why I got such a mixed review, because we didn't know. And when you touch a sacred attraction like pirates, people are going to have mixed emotion. I'm with Mark. I told everybody, like, our podcast text thread was pretty long. And it was pretty animated. I'll put it that way, right? Mark is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the discussion of it. And I will say this. The critiques of it are fair. Every critique that I've heard of it, I've watched multiple videos now. Our good friend Jay Bratton sent us a video, and he was on the attraction. And that video that he sent, I was like, okay, it was better. It was the more close up, and it was a more broad, like, complete presentation of the audio animatronic from when he comes into view all the way through and all the way around. So I was like, okay, it helped me get a better sense of what it's actually like. That being said, I agree with Mark. I think the audio is not the best. It's really not. I do really enjoy the skull. I think that flipping back and forth from the human to the skull, I think that effect is freaking awesome. I dig that.
Yeah.
So I just felt like good try, like good. And I agree with Mark wholeheartedly. I think this is a preview and the stepping stone for what we're going to get in Coco, and it's a beta test for further going down. They need to continue to refine it and make it better. I will say the outrage over this, my first opinion is completely overblown. 100%.
Yeah.
This is no redhead change out. Okay? The outrage that I had when they said, oh, we're going to change the redhead, that still burns every time I write it, because I look at that, because it's a fundamental change to the story. That was my issue with that. It continues to be my issue, that it was a fundamental change of the story and screwed it up. This is none of that. This is actually an attempt to add to the story. It adds to the story that we learned from the movies, right? The bloom, all that stuff. This tries to incorporate that into this. Like that, don't like that, that's fine. So I'm glad they did this. I kind of am anxious to see it. And I will tell you this right now, I'm very on the fence with it. Overall, I'm not losing my mind over it. Overall, I think anybody who has lost their mind over it, I want to walk them off the ledge very slowly and be like, it's going to be okay. You're fine. You're fine. They did. And I felt like I need to remind people, you know how many things have already changed in Pirates? And again, this is not the redhead. So we'll see what happens. I hope they perfect it and make it better and change the voice. And here, the critiques are like, the voice isn't good, the effect isn't that good, and make it better. So we'll see what happens.
I do agree to the fact of, I think there's a lot that's going on in our world today that we could be more concerned about than an audio animatronic pirate.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's not that people don't. Everyone doesn't always have to love something. They always don't have to hate something, But I mean, like, I do agree. I feel like with this in particular, it's kind of like, it is what it is. I do hope that they do, perfect the tech a little bit better.
Absolutely.
I feel like that the placement of the pirate, I think, doesn't help. I think like once they kind of like get an audio animatronic that can kind of utilize this tech in a much different way, because they had mentioned it again on We Call It Imagineering, where they said they're probably going to utilize this for, they mentioned Mike Wazowski, which is probably going to be for the Globe Theater in Monstropolis. They mentioned Lightning McQueen, which probably is going to be for Piston Peak. And then they mentioned for Hades, which I'm assuming, again, would be for villains. So I do hope that it can be utilized well when it needs to be, but I hope that they don't just rely on this kind of tech, because I do love the actual facial, done of an audio animatronic, especially because Conductor always mentions it, like they just changed out the Frozen Ever After audio animatronics from Epcot, because they've been having a lot of issues when they don't work. Of what Conductor calls it, it's like the Omen effect, where there's no face on them whatsoever. So hopefully, the one plus side I will say, that if they're having any issues with this pirate, rather than having that, they could just switch it off and then just have the skull, sitting there. So that is, obviously a benefit if something does go down. But Conductor, I know we talked about this many times, but is there anything else you wanted to add about that, especially since you got to see it several times for yourself?
I did. My only thought process is, as much as they use the new technology from Unreal Engine and all that, I don't know. My thing is, I rather them do what they're doing with the Walt animatronic and have like an articulate face, actually talking to you. I like that interaction.
Yep.
I don't like the screen base. It looks too fake to me. And for a attraction like this, and don't get me wrong, I kind of feel Pirates was like the guinea pig for this technology, because this is the technology we're going to see in Coco, which has me kind of concerned, because some of these animatronics that would use this kind of animated face, we're going to be a lot closer to these animatronics than this pirate that was off in the distance. That's what concerns me, and I don't think it's going to get a good reaction with guests being that close. Because one thing I will agree with for Orange Grove 55, when we reacted to this part of our weekly series, and just other people I've talked to, I honestly really do not feel there was justice getting that close to its face for that YouTube episode. I do not feel that was a good thing, because then you really saw it up way too close, and you're all like, okay, this looks even more fake. So I don't know how I feel about it. I will say, and I will continue to say this no matter what, I do appreciate Imagineering coming up with new strategies, new ideas, new technology, and trying to incorporate that into attractions like Pirates, like other attractions that have been around for decades, and even future attractions. I appreciate the thought process. I just don't think this was the greatest thing they kind of came up with. I think what they did for the Walt animatronic, even though people have their issues with that thing, I think for what it does, how it speaks to you, how the mannerisms that animatronic does to kind of represent Walt, I think that's the type of technology we need to really be focused on. Now, I agree, his face didn't look the way it should have, but that kind of has to do with all the robotics and stuff in the actual head, the head part. So you can't really say, oh well, we want a state of the art animatronic Walt, but yet when they build it, then they're all like, yeah, it doesn't look like Walt because there's so much mechanics in the face. So it makes his face bigger than what it should have been.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a trade-off.
Mhm.
And sometimes I kind of feel that maybe this is just a recent thought. I kind of feel that Disney kind of listens to the fans on certain things they probably shouldn't listen to fans about.
I think it's a catch-22 for Disney when it comes to the fan base. I feel like that no matter which way they go, if they listen to one side of the fan base that's saying, oh, well, yeah, you can't do this because it doesn't look like, Walt Disney, or they go this route where it's like, oh my gosh, you can't use the projection mapping face. It's so unrealistic. It's like, I feel like, Disney has to get into that mindset that you can't please everybody and like, don't feed into the hysteria that it's like, just keep doing what you're doing. It's like, if you want to do it, believe what you're doing. And because if what people say influence your decision making, then that makes you look kind of weak.
No, and you're not wrong, George, but on something like this, especially since they've had this technology before, obviously it's not real engine, but nevertheless, the same technology, and they just got done revamping a ride at Epcot that used that technology, and people were hating on it. It was having way too many issues. It flabbergastes me that they would even attempt to try to do it again.
Well, I will say I was actually surprised that they did, because it just happened literally, from them changing out the animatronics of Frozen and then kind of like backtracking a little bit. I was a little bit like, wow, I can't believe they actually did it. Now, as I said, do I personally have a problem with it? No, I don't really have a problem with it. It's like, it's there, cool. But again, I do hope that they leave that door open for future better upgrades to it, so to speak.
Yeah. So we'll just wait and see. But and Briz83 makes a good point. He says future animatronics may the being blanked features so they can use full face mapping with this tech. And I agree with you, but the problem I see is, after a while, the projector, there's a million things that can go wrong with that thing. It might not turn on. The colors might be distorted. The actual like emotions that it's supposed to showcase for the projection mapping might not be on point. It might be delayed. Who knows? It might show the Microsoft logo. I don't know. There's all these different, different issues. So for me, I'm going to push back on Imagineering and say, you guys need to get away from that.
Well,
That not have a good look.
Well, I can't wait to hear you have that conversation with them when we walk through the Imagination Pavilion.
Well,
Oh, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say, hey,
I please, and I'm having that camera on. I hope Chris Beatty is there, and everybody is going to be standing there. I'll be like,
because I'm gonna say, I'm gonna tell them I respect all the R&D you're doing. I respect it 100%. But do you really like? Yeah, it might be great after the first 6 months to a year, but what happens after the fact? Are you going to tell me that, I'm going to kind of go on like a attraction like Coco, like Pirates of the Caribbean, and I'm kind of like half awake, and the one thing that's going to wake me up is staring at this animatronic and it looking like an Omen character from a devil movie? Are you kidding me? Or I'm going to see a Microsoft logo on his face? Come on.
oh my God. I will say though, I hope that by the time we get Coco, it is more perfected if this is the tech that they're using.
I hope so, but I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, I'm going to go on a tangent. You got me into it. Sorry.
Right,
but
here we go.
Okay. 2024, the one thing I kept seeing, it was, I don't know the Imagineer's name, and George, please help me out if you know who it is.
Yep.
It was a black gentleman. He was on this like little stage in the Imagineering Pavilion. He was sitting on the chair and the floor was moving.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I forget his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw that.
The reason I bring that situation up is that was 2 years ago. Do we see that technology anywhere?
No.
It's like, wait a second.
That's the problem with Imagineering's R&D. Like they even showcased a Judy Hopps animatronic at one of those I don't know if it was IAAPA or it was one of the showcase things, and
God,
we never saw her again. They showcase other things, yeah, like the tech that they file all these permits that they could eventually use, but it's like how long? Because I think what it is Imagineering is like so far down the road that they're looking 10, 15, 20 years into the road, that when they start showcasing all this to us, we're thinking in our own minds, oh, okay, this is going to be for the next project. Where meanwhile, they're looking like in 20 years from now. So when 20 years comes, we'll see that moving floor and would be like, oh, I remember seeing that on, we call it Imagineering.
But go ahead, Udi, please.
Well, I just want to add, we didn't put people on the moon right away.
No, we didn't.
So I get your point where you're coming from, but I also I'm going to push back a little bit and go like, they don't know what's not going to work unless they try, right? So this is going back to it. They need to try this. They need to figure out like, will it really work or will it really not? I feel like, I mean, you're spot on about the Walt animatronic, and I'm with you 100% on that, Kent, by the way. I infinitely prefer a fully functioning, facial feature, real animatronic. I prefer that 100 times out of 100 over a facial screen. But I also realize that is very unrealistic that they're going to put that much time, effort, and energy into that. The cost overrun, I mean, we can go on and on about that. But the thing is like, I really feel like, and going to what you're saying, George, is we see these things, and these people are light years ahead of us in their thought processes. And this is like, hey guys, they're more there to ignite. This is why I've always looked at Imagineering when they do that, because I look at that stuff and I was very much like you guys. Thank you. That, where is this? Oh, this is cool. Where is it? I need to see it right away. And then I had to pause it and go like, hold on. What they're doing in Imagineering by showing you this is going like, it's firing up your imagination. They already thought of it. They're already like, hey, look at the cool thing that we're working and playing with. And that gets you going. That's kind of the point. I've kind of shifted my whole entire view about Imagineering to that. It's not about what they're doing. It's more about, yeah, we're doing this, but what are you guys going to do? What are you guys going to think? How is your imagination going to explode from that? So I feel like let them build, let them do this. They're going to fall on their face a few times, and this might be one of those. But at the end of the day, dude, I'm excited because if they're playing with these concepts, these ideas, the interactivity, the immersion that they're trying to get with down the road is something that I am excited for. And we have to watch the ships crashing down, like when Elon was doing his rockets, watching them explode. We all go, "Whoa, that was a major screw up." But now he's catching rockets with chopsticks. You know what I'm saying? So we're moving to that point and in that direction when they do this stuff. So I'm just gonna go with completely opposite for you, conductor. I would walk up in there going like, "Hey, I don't really like it, but I see what you're trying to do. Go further." And I would be the guy going, cheering them on, going, "Yeah, you just fell on your face. Get it back up. Keep on going. Keep on going." You know what I mean? I'd just be on the other end of the mat. I'm on the other end with that. I'm like, don't run away from it. Push into it and figure it out. Because I feel like the potentiality for that is much greater than I think even we might be able to kind of wrap our heads around right now.
And I love Briz's comment right here. It got us talking about it tonight. Imagine what they're working. And actually, it's very true. It literally, for us to actually have this conversation, whether we have different opinions on it, it actually sparks the conversation. And that is very true. And also, Briz, was it like a floor projection like some arenas use, or actual floor moving? No, it was sort of like an actual... It kind of looked like, like those little metal, like magnetic round balls. They kind of like, it was like embedded into the floor, and it basically like maneuvered magnetically where you could, it was transporting you from one part of the room to the next. I actually got to,
just real quick, Briz, that technology, if you search on Google, just search for Disney Hollow Tile. Because what that technology is, it's called the Hollow Tile, and it can move weight around all over the place.
Yeah, because I actually got to experiment it with a little bit up at the Imagineering Creative Campus. They had like objects, and they gave us like the devices that we were able to like maneuver it. So that was actually really cool. I hope again they do utilize it, and I hope maybe they'll showcase it more at possibly D23, even possibly with the new technology with the droids that are supposedly going to be making us drinks, that they're going to showcase that at D23, which eventually it's going to move into Disneyland. So
they already have that tech in Vegas.
They have that tech. Yes, I'm literally looking at my mug with it right there because I got one from that spot right there. It's right there.
Robots making drinks. Yeah.
Robot making drinks. So I love that. I heard that. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So they said possibly like around like the end of this year for Disneyland for it to go into Galaxy's Edge. So
nice.
Yeah. So a lot of interesting stuff on the horizon. Let's see. With Dragon Blood says couldn't say more Udi. I love the tech and etc. I've got more mixed on the new pirate, but only for its placement in the attraction and where it could have been utilized. But I love the new tech. Rebby D, nostalgia should only be consumed in small doses. Too much, and you may get nostalgia poison. The cure is new attractions. I actually like that. I like that.
That's
really cool.
Funny.
Yeah, we can only go to member berries for so long before we're like, hey, we need something new. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But I want to thank you gentlemen for joining me today. It was an awesome conversation. Absolutely loved everything. Definitely going to have you guys back on again.
For sure.
But of what they were mentioning, I do little segments, part of the Leaving Today's podcast. Walk in the Park with the Disney Italiano. I do these little snippets of what's going on in the parks as part of Leaving Today podcast. And then I invite them on Holo Gelato, and we have these very extensive conversations like we have tonight. So this is the first of many. But I want to thank you guys for joining tonight. Mark, I'm going to start with you. If you want to let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, well, thank you. The pleasure is all ours for sure. And we feel very honored to be even talking with you guys. And just I don't know if anyone in your chat has actually met you guys, but these guys are the real deal. We spent a day and a half at the parks with them. Absolute genuine people, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with them again and having great conversations and drinks and meals and stuff, and looking forward to that. Gotta get back on with LTP. It's been a while since I've been on there. Oh yeah, you got it. Welcome. The water is very warm.
Yeah, you can back.
But you can find me at leavingtodaypodcast.com, on Instagram at Leaving Today Podcast, and LTP Lounge, which is our video companion, every Wednesday night between 6 and 7. Wait a minute, Patrick. Whoa, Patrick, brother, what is up?
Okay, hold on.
He's an OG member. He's an OG member. Okay.
So the mask finally came off. He was hiding under a brizz.
Yeah. He used to work for Disneyland, and funny story, he was in the Marines, and he was deathly afraid of going on Splash Mountain. He had never gone on it.
I don't know if he wants the story to be told, but I don't care.
Oh, forget it.
No. Tell the story. I'm all for it. Tell the story.
And this is a Marine who was jumping out of helicopters, and he was in combat stuff. He's like, dude, I'm too afraid to go on Splash Mountain. And so we all went down there, and we got him to go on with us, and it was awesome.
Wait, hold on. Keep on talking.
Well, no, I mean, Patrick is a great guy. Absolute great guy. I forgot exactly what he did for the parks, but
he was night crew.
The night crew.
Well, Patrick, welcome in. Always glad to know like a name from like another name like behind like the handle. So definitely welcome in, and definitely jump on whenever you can, because I will be having these guys on a lot. Oh, look at that!
That's Udi Jess. Patrick's in the red.
Nice.
He's wearing he's wearing a shirt with Jess on it.
Miss you, brother.
Miss you too, man. So you can find us every Wednesday night on LTP Lounge, on our YouTube channel on Leaving Today Podcast, and stream our podcast anywhere that you can find it. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple iTunes, or Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. It's all there. And like I said, episode 250 is coming up. We're going to record it next Sunday coming up. And yeah, there we are.
Yeah.
Oh, LTP has their name on the highest point at Star Wars Land.
Thanks to him. Did we tell you that story?
I think after like hearing it right now, I think I remember you mentioning.
I
remember you mentioning that. Yeah. Okay, so he's the one that you would.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah, he wrote our name on the I-beam, on the last I-beam installed on the spire at Galaxy's Edge.
That's so cool. So you guys are embedded into Galaxy's Edge.
Yep.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
We are.
I wish there was a picture of that. I don't know where that picture went.
He took it. I wish I could find it too. I'd probably go search and try to find it on one of my phones. It's been a while. Clearly.
Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. A little bit of a tangent.
I love hearing stories like that. So that's awesome. And Udi, if you want to let everyone know where they can find you. Patrick says he has it.
I'm pretty sure you still have my number. I'm pretty sure, or Mark's number. They haven't changed. Or DM me.
Yes.
I'd love to have it. I'd love to have it. Please, Patrick. That'd be awesome.
Yes, please. That'd be awesome. Okay, sorry.
Sorry. So you can find me everywhere where Mark just said. And then you can find me on my Instagram, which is HAXGOALIE, Haxgoli. On there, it's me and pretty much unfiltered. And then you can find me on my other podcast, which is The Mando Show, which is a podcast dedicated to Star Wars.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. And of course, the one, the only, Mr. Theme Park Conductor. Always a pleasure doing these lives with you. I mean, obviously, you're pretty much a seasoned veteran, but doing these lives with me, so you're pretty much used to putting up with me. But let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. It was a true honor to be on this live stream with you guys and talk about everything we talked about today. Yeah. You could find me Theme Park Conductor on YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor, on X at Theme Conductor, TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1, and every Sunday at 5 or 7 p.m. for Conductor Sunday live stream, where we have amazing guests like the one and only Hollow Gelato with his spicy theme park Italian opinions. We got the Leaving Today podcast crew constantly on there, as well as we break down Disney and Universal news, where we've been talking about lately D23, which is literally 31 days or 30 days, depending how you look at it, away. So that's going to be one of the main subjects for all the Conductor Sunday live streams leading up to that event next month.
And everyone, please turn your notifications on, because we are going to have a slew full of content for you. You're not going to know what you're going to do with it. So
exactly. And then we also talk about, because there's some interesting news with Halloween Horror Nights, and then possibly with Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift being delayed, what that can mean, because Universal has pulled the extra feature of riding that attraction during Halloween Horror Nights on some of the tickets, so people aren't happy about that. So definitely stay tuned to not only Hollow Gelato, but Theme Park Conductor and the Leaving Today podcast crew. As like Mark said, they are getting ready to film their 250th episode, which I cannot be more excited to listen to. I am going to be front and center and probably one of the very first people to listen to that podcast, because I am a graveyard shift at my work. So I'm up at 2 a.m. So I'll be one of the very few with firsthand. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, all three of us make such great content. So definitely turn on your notification bells. And I want to give a big shout out to everybody that has watched the Gordon Ramsay reviews, both on Theme Park Conductor and Hollow Gelato. It means the world to us, because my gosh, I can't talk any more than I've already talked about it. It was such a memorable experience, and it's something that I can't wait to look forward to going back to.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. Billy, I do apologize. I actually it slipped my mind with everything that's been going on with all the news. I'm still going to try to figure something out where we could have viewers and guests call in, like when we do lives and stuff. I'm still going to figure something out, but I do apologize, but we will definitely let you know when we can finagle something of that. And then I'm so very sorry. There was one last thing I just wanted to bring up to kind of close it out and everything. And it was the little teaser that Disney dropped for Oogie Boogie, because I was waiting on to see like what was going to be the next villain. And I thought, you know what? I didn't actually bring it up or talk about it yet. So I think maybe this could kind of be like the last thing just to kind of close it up. But here is the teaser for the new villain that's going to be joining Oogie Boogie Bash. And I think from seeing that, I think we can kind of get an idea of who that possibly could be. And I think everyone is hinting at Yzma.
Mm-hmm.
Because I actually have I have a friend who worked in the company, and I was speaking to them actually a couple years ago. They've been trying to get Yzma into Oogie Boogie, and the reason why it delayed was because to have Yzma, they wanted to have Kronk, and because that they are different kind of unionized actors, it would have cost a lot of money to have them. But I guess as of right now, money is no issue for it now, because it seems like we're going to be getting them. So hopefully we just don't get Yzma. I hope we get Kronk along with her as well.
Squeak, squeaky, squeak, squeak.
Yes. But in that case, folks, that's how we're going to end this live. I want to thank you all for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it because without you, we wouldn't be having these lives. So we appreciate all your thoughts, comments, opinions, everything. And we will see you on the next one. But until then, I am George, the Disney Italiano. And as I always say, in Disney Italiano fashion, stay safe, stay healthy, stay Disney. Italiano out.